Join Bob Kolazarik as he welcomes a diverse array of guests to the enlightening talk show, Greetings from the Ashram. In each episode, Bob sits down with experts and practitioners from the world of complementary healing modalities, spirituality, and holistic wellness to delve into the transformative power of these practices. From ancient traditions to cutting-edge therapies, Greetings from the Ashram offers viewers an insightful and uplifting journey into the realms of mind, body, and spirit. So now, please welcome your host, Bob Kolazarik.
Hello, everyone. Namaste and welcome. I am Bob Kolazarik, and you're watching Greetings from the Ashram, streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. It's a pleasure to introduce tonight's guest, Asmi Shah. Asmi holds a degree in electrical and computer engineering from Cornell University and an MBA from UCLA Anderson. She currently works at Google, where she continues to make strides in her field. And beyond her professional achievements, Asmi is deeply passionate about yoga, asana, and meditation, as well as sound and pranic healing. In addition, she's the founder of Solterra, a venture that beautifully combines her interest in technology and holistic wellness. Solterra recently launched its first product, an enchanting end-of-year journal called Cosmic Starlight. Welcome to the show, Asmi.
Hi, Bob. It's so nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you betcha. As soon as I heard that you were launching Cosmic Starlight, was it your husband, Amit? Yeah, he put that call out. So I'm like, all right, I got to contact you right away and get you on the show, kind of help you promote it. So I'm excited to have you here. Thank you for being here. But before we get into that, I think my audience typically likes to want to know what the background is, because we find a lot of people, what's the background, what's the turning point when you start going down the spiritual path. Normally something's shaking things up a little bit, So what's your story?
Yeah, so I grew up a child of immigrants. I grew up in New Jersey. Both my parents were from India, so I have Indian ancestry. Grew up typical immigrant kid, study hard, get good grades, all of that. Apart from that, because I was, the only child of Indian parents, we had a pretty traditional but liberal household. And what I mean by that is English is my third language. I actually grew up speaking Gujarati at home. I didn't learn English until I went to preschool, and then was very sad that I was the only kid who didn't know it. When I was a kid, I remember watching the Mahabharata with my parents, and we would pause it every 3 minutes, and they would explain to me what was being said in a mix of Hindi and Sanskrit. And so I kind of always grew up with spirituality along with typical American kid stuff, like watching Saved by the Bell, Perfect Strangers, and all of that. And I come from a family of engineers. And so for me, it's always been a mix of this idea of spirituality and believing with the logical mind, understanding what's concrete, and trying to bridge the two. But for me, it's never been a conflict. It's been about an or rather than it's been an and. It's like you can be spiritual and be logical.
Well, you grew up spiritual, right? You have very spiritual parents. What is a Gujarati Jain family? What is that? Explain that to me. I've never heard of that before, but.
Yeah, India is a very, very big country. And so there's a lot of different states and there's a lot of different languages and dialects. My parents are from the western part of India. The state is called Gujarat. And so Gujarati people, typically, they have their own language. There's also dialects, but we speak Gujarati at home. We have our own typical cuisine, which you generally don't see here in the US. It's, very like farmer food, very down to earth. It's generally vegetarian. And then in terms of Jainism, you may or may not have heard of this. This is a really small religion. We are currently, I think, less than 1% of the Indian population. There are more Christians in India than Jains, but it's an ancient religion that's been around for thousands of years. And we have 24 saints or tirthankars that are kind of like the foundation of our religion. And the number one thing that Jainism believes in is ahimsa, or nonviolence. And so that's really the foundation of the religion. So people tend to not only be vegetarian, but many follow what's called the Jain diet. And in a Jain diet, you don't eat anything that is grown underground. So no potatoes, no onions, no garlic, no carrots, nothing that disturbs the earth. The idea is you eat fruit that bears from the tree, so the tree is still alive when you're eating the fruit. The fruit has fallen off, things like that. Originally, a lot of our religious leaders would not travel by any mode of transportation. They would only travel by foot in India. When the first, person came here to the U.S. on a plane, I remember I was maybe like elementary school. It was like a big deal because people used to not even engage with public transportation, the like really traditional religious leaders. So that's a little bit about Jainism. It may sound extreme if you're coming from the Western perspective, but a lot of the tenets are really beautiful. It's a lot about being connected with nature, being connected with your community. And so along with ahimsa and nonviolence, there's this idea of, being truthful, non-hoarding. A lot of the things that we learn about in Arhatic Yoga, or even as the foundations of general yogic philosophy, overlap with the Jain tradition.
I'm not surprised, especially since it's an ancient tradition, right? But the reason I ask, because I'm a mechanical engineer. I wasn't qualified to be an electrical engineer, but
I the light bulb.
So I'm, the Western guy with the technical background, right? So that's the reason I was asking. But, India is a very spiritual country, and we need more of that here. So I just wanted to understand a little bit more than that. But you also had a little tragedy along the way. Yeah, an unexpected loss. Can we talk about that? Because that was a big turning point for you, right?
Yeah. So I was 25. I was officially living in Manhattan, had a job in banking. Everything was going somewhat according to plan. And my parents unexpectedly passed away in 2009. And that was a huge turning point for me. I'm an only child. I was really, really close to my parents. I used to talk to them every single day. And basically overnight, within the span of a couple of weeks, my life just turned upside down. I didn't have any anchor. I didn't have really any other family here in the US that I'm close to. I went through a point of, an extended period of grief and depression. Didn't know really what was going to happen in my life. And then slowly through healing, through therapy, I was able to come out of it. But it was really that point where I turned to spirituality, because I remember, at that point I was a little agnostic. I was like, I don't know if I believe in something or not. I didn't think I was like quite atheist, but like, is there anything out there? And I remember when my dad was in the hospital, I just started praying. And he did end up passing away. But to me, there was this feeling of, if I'm praying, I must believe in something. So if I believe in something, what is it? And that kind of started my spiritual journey as an adult.
So what kind of therapy were you going through at that time? Because this really predates your sound healing or pranic healing. So what helped you? You were doing mantras and
here I didn't. Probably like the first 6 months, I didn't do anything. I was just in grief, depressed, and I thought, this is life now, and that was kind of it for a while. I didn't really know, what was keeping me alive, what to look for. And one day I remember going into a bookstore and I saw a book on mantras for sale, and I was like, well, this looks interesting. My mom always used to chant a lot of mantras. Let me see what all of this is about. So I picked up a book, and if you know about anything about mantras, there's a lot of different kinds of practices you can do. You can chant a mantra for a certain number of repetitions. You can do it for a certain number of days. So I decided to pick a mantra and just chant it silently, constantly for an extended period of time. And, slowly through that, it was really subtle, but I did feel my energy shift. It was somewhere for me to, focus my mind when I didn't know what to think about. And about a year after my dad passed away, I had been having sleep issues the entire time. I was sleeping a couple of hours a night. I had a permanent low-grade headache. I was not feeling great. And I thought, I just need to get help. Like, I don't know about my mood and emotions, but I just need to physically sleep. And I tried all the over-the-counter stuff. Nothing was working. And so I decided I need something stronger, which is actually what caused me to seek out therapy, was to get sleeping pills. So it was not this whole thing of, I'm going to heal and feel better. It was legitimately like, can you get me to go to sleep? And so I'm very lucky. I found a good therapist.
Can I interrupt? There's nothing wrong with going to therapy. I don't want, I know we do a lot of healing and emotional healing and all that, and that's that's what we do. But, going and talking to people, I would just,
Oh yeah, 100%. My intention was not to heal, is what I meant. I think therapy is great. My intention was just to get sleeping pills, is what I
understand. That probably would have been mine as well. But, there's certainly value in talking to people.
So ended up finding a really nice therapist who told me I will give you sleeping pills if you agree to see me. And I was like, well, I don't need therapy, but fine, if like that's what it's going to take. And she basically tricked me into getting therapy, which I'm really, really grateful for. So saw her for, I think, about a year and a half. And then during that time, I was able to process a lot of my grief, figure out what the next step is in my life, because I was in a job that I already knew I didn't really like. In fact, right before my dad passed away, I was planning to take some time off, go home, and figure out what I wanted to do next, because I didn't really enjoy working in banking. And so after this whole process, I decided my next step was to go to business school. And so then I started studying, took the GMATs, I did all my business school applications and did all of that.
Well, let me ask you, was that more of an intuitive guiding direction, or how did you come to that direction? Was it an inner world kind of thing, like this is what you need to do, or?
No, it was actually pretty intellectual, and I had a lot of angst about it. So, my dad had always had this dream of getting a PhD, and he didn't quite like pass it on to me like, oh, you have to get it. But in the back of my mind, that was always something of, oh, if I go back to school, like, would I get an MBA or a PhD? And I kind of struggled with it a lot, because I realized, even though that was my dad's dream, that was not my dream to go and be in academia. Having lived in New York City and worked in banking, I didn't think I could go back to a grad student salary for that many years and not know what was going to happen. Just the practical aspects of things. And I enjoyed being in the business world good enough. I just didn't like what I was doing in banking. And so as I started looking at jobs, all the jobs that looked interesting to me said MBA required. And so I was like, okay, I'll go to business school. That was basically it.
No, that's awesome. So you went to UCLA. How was it living out there? You were out there in Southern California, is that right?
Yep, I was in Westwood for 2 years. It was a wild ride. It was really funny because at the time I was only applying to business schools outside of New York. I wanted to leave the East Coast. I grew up in New Jersey. I'd spent my entire post-undergrad life in New York City, and I thought, I just want to get away. I need to go somewhere else. I need a fresh start. Wanted to go to California. Got to school in LA, which is really, really fantastic. And within, I think, the first month, I was like, I don't like LA. I'm like a bull in a china shop. You would go there for coffee, and everything's just slower when you leave New York. And it took me a while to adjust. It's also not as walkable, and I really like walking everywhere.
Oh, it's not walkable at all. I lived there in Southern California probably 7-8 years, so I totally get it. Westwood, I love Westwood, though. It's a fun place.
Yeah, Westwood was nice. I mean, I lived on campus. I walked to class. I had a pretty easy life. Got the weather. I think for me, it was a really good break to be away from all of the things that I had a connection to, and really kind of figure out what it is I want. And promptly after business school, I ended up moving back to New York because I did really miss the East Coast. And even though my parents weren't here, it still kind of felt like home, and I wanted to come back. But ironically, now many years later, I would like to move to Southern California second time around.
Yeah, now you're in Jersey City, right?
Yep, Jersey City. Yeah. We just moved here.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. So what year was that when you graduated? Because you really started, getting into your other training in like 2018, and we're going to get to that in a little bit. But what was that gap like for you? Were you still trying to learn different things, spirituality, just getting settled with your new career? And we got about a minute to go before we go break for commercial.
Yeah, so I graduated business school from 2014, and then I moved to New York, and I was working at a couple of different startups. And at that point, it was just back to a routine. It was, I mean, I wouldn't say full routine, like obviously, right, there's some grief in the background and all of that, but it was, okay, have a job, have a social life. That's it.
Living the dream at that point, right? Just living the dream.
Yeah,
got your degree, you got your MBA, you're living in New York City.
On the cover of Fortune or something, who knows?
Oh, that's awesome. All right, but I do need to take a quick commercial break. I am Bob Kolazaric. You're watching Greetings from the Ashram, streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. We'll be right back after this.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery, or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick. Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, Bob Kolazarek, and you're watching Greetings from the Ashram, streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. Back with Asmi Shah. I'm talking about her journey, her turning point, and we're going to get to her big launch in a little bit. But thanks for your backstory. Appreciate that. You know, I find it's inspirational for people, you know, to see where we come from and the journeys that we're on. But so you graduated, you're living the life in New York City, the MBA, and so what? You know, there's a gap. So how did you start finding your way back into the real spirituality that you're doing now?
So I'd had one job straight after business school, faced some challenges, ended up going to a different company, started facing challenges there again. And, you know, I felt like I'm back in the same loop. Like I'm working this corporate career. I'm feeling dissatisfied. There's got to be something else, but I don't know what exactly. And at the time, I'd been practicing a lot of yoga asana. And one of my coworkers said, hey, I just did yoga teacher training and I really enjoyed it. And I think you'll get something out of it. And I had that was like not on my radar at all, but she said it. I kind of thought about it for a week or two, did some research. And I think within a few weeks, I signed up for yoga teacher training as just something for me to focus on and make me happy. At the time, I was not happy at my job. I'd been looking for 6 months for something else and I couldn't find anything. And I felt like, let me just go do something for me. And so I did yoga teacher training, and that for me became my like portal into spirituality.
So what's asana, yoga asana, real quick? I'm not familiar. I probably should know that, but I don't.
So asana is like the physical practice. So most people, when they go to a yoga studio or they go to a asana class at gym, they call it yoga, but that's not actually yoga. Yoga is a whole philosophical tradition that's really about connecting to ultimate consciousness or finding, you know, liberation, whatever you want to call it. The physical practice or asana is just a portion of it. And so the reason I say yoga asana is to have that distinction so that more people can be aware of greater yoga philosophy and all the teachings that are available to them that they may not know about.
Oh, great point. So this was back in 2018. Is that when it all started? But I don't know. I find it very interesting that the doors keep closed. You're not finding a door to go through until you find the yoga to get you on that path. You know, it's just amazing how things work out when you look back, you know.
Oh, yeah. And it was actually through my yoga teacher training that I ended up getting my job at Google, which is where I've been now for the last 6 years.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, so it's a funny story, but yeah, I got my job through yoga teacher training.
That is really cool. So then you started the sound healing. How did you get into the sound healing aspect of it?
So during yoga teacher training, we had this portion where people could do like a book report or some kind of like show and tell. And the idea was to get us exposed to more concepts within the yoga tradition. And somebody brought a singing bowl and they started playing it. And I'd never seen one before then. And the moment they started playing it, I thought, this is the coolest thing ever. I want one. And, I went home that night. I'm starting to Google like singing bowls, and I'm seeing all these different ones on Etsy, and some are like $20, some are $2,000. And I'm like, what is going on? How do I, know what is like the right quality? How do I know which one I want? Also, how do I play it if I buy it? So that kind of planted the seed. I wasn't planning to do sound healing training at that point. I just graduated. I was about to graduate yoga teacher training, start a new job at Google. But I ended up being mesmerized by them. And I started having a small singing bowl for my own personal practice. And eventually I just felt the calling that I needed to learn more. And so I ended up booking a trip to Nepal. And at the end of 2018, that same year, I went to Nepal to do my first sound healing training with Himalayan singing bowls.
Very cool. Now, let me ask you this question again. At this point, was it more of an inner guidance directing you to Nepal for the sound healing, or was it still on the more intellectual side?
Oh, no, this was just like inner guidance. All my friends were like, what are you doing? What, like, where are you going? I'm like, it has good TripAdvisor reviews. I think it'll be safe. I'm just going to wire a bunch of money to somebody that I don't know.
No, that's awesome. We have a couple photos. I think if Caleb can throw them up there. So this is, you had a nice progression in 2018 when things started, right? So you started with your, you could take us through these pictures.
Yeah, so the top left is my yoga teacher training graduation. The top right is the first yoga asana class I ever taught. This was at a studio in Brooklyn called Emerge Soul, and I was really excited. They're a very warm and welcoming community. The bottom left is from my sound healing training in Nepal. And then the bottom right is actually teaching a workshop at Google during one of the wellness events that we had.
Which I think is really cool. And I have to say, I really commend Google to do that. I think more businesses obviously should be doing that kind of health and wellness workshops at work. So this was on at site on Google at Google.
Oh yeah, on campus we have wellness events throughout the year. We also have a lot of our employees who are doing stuff outside of work, and they're able to bring it to their coworkers through various programs that we have.
Very cool. Yeah, I was in the construction business, and I just know everybody in the construction business is super stressed out all the time, all the time. Like I worked in Manhattan for 11 years, and I know these people. And yeah, everybody can use some healing and some meditation and stuff like that in the corporate world, and that's why I like having guests like you. You're so accomplished. You're electrical engineer, right? And you got the MBA, and this is not a woo-woo thing. I mean, you wouldn't be doing it if it was woo-woo and didn't work. So, but you kept progressing after that, right? So what was next after the sound healing?
So after my first sound healing training, that was at the end of 2018, I had a year of just practicing the yoga asana, practicing some sound healing on friends and family. And it was somewhere in, I think, fall of 2019. I was going through a tough time and nothing was working. I was chanting all my mantras. I was doing my asana. I was doing sound healing one-on-one on myself. It was not working. And I was on the phone with a pranic healer that I know Jenny Lai. So she and I went to Anderson together. So that's how we know each other.
Oh, did you really? Oh, that's so awesome.
We met in business school. And I was talking to Jenny on the phone, and I was like telling her how nothing is working and I'm miserable and I'm crying all the time. And she said, can I cut your cords for you? I was like, yes, I don't know what that is, but please do it.
But it sounds like it's important.
Yeah. So she cut my cords while we were on the call, and I immediately felt better. And I was like, well, that's really cool. So then, Jenny was telling me, oh, maybe you should be interested in pranic healing. And I was like, no, I have too many interests. I don't have time for anything else. But the seed was planted. And before I knew it, in January of 2020, I took a bunch of my pranic healing classes without having any idea what pranic healing is, without any desire to really practice. I didn't even know why I was going to the classes, but I went to the classes.
I started in 2019 and I took the class. I took them and knowing that I wanted to do it to get into Arhatic Yoga. I was just focused on the spiritual growth. But during the time, though, going through those courses and I really became quite a good healer. And I did all the certification programs up through the psychotherapy certification program, did the healing pods for 4 years, just practicing healing in groups. And so, yeah, I didn't have the intention to be the healer to the extent that I do it and am, but that's the way things are. We're guided, and this is the way things worked out. So when did you become an Arhatic Yoga practitioner? Was it also in 2020?
No, it was at the end of 2021, and I actually was not interested in Arhatic Yoga at all, to be honest, because the description is often very vague, right? Like, it's just like, oh, here, learn some yoga stuff. And I'm like, I already did yoga teacher training. I'm Indian. I chant lots of mantras. Like, I don't think it's for me. I already have my own practice that I do, and because I've taken a lot of additional classes and things like that, even in like yoga and Ayurveda. I had my own morning routine that I had things that I was doing, and I thought, I don't have time to practice anything else. Like, and Jenny would tell me, it's like, how long the practice is, and I'm going, I don't want to cut out what I'm already doing. I can't imagine adding another hour and a half or 2 hours, so no thank you. And then Jenny being Jenny, she and I were talking about it, and she's like, well, it's coming up, it's really close by, maybe you should just check it out, even if you decide to never practice again. And I did Arhatic Yoga, and I was hooked. I was like, this is amazing. How does everybody not know about this? This is the best thing ever.
I'm telling you, in the 5 years I've been doing it, has surpassed any expectation that I ever would have had. I mean, the transformation of self is quite profound, So how has it contributed to you? In what ways have your experiences shift with the Arhatic Yoga practice?
I mean, it's just in so many different ways. First, just, I studied yoga philosophy in yoga teacher training. I read other books on it. The way Master Cho has laid out Arhatic Yoga, and if you've ever studied yoga philosophy and you know of the different paths of yoga, the idea that everything has been brought together in this one package is pretty amazing. Like, it actually helped me understand my yoga teacher training better, other like philosophy and spiritual books that I've read. I understood them more because of what we learned in Arhatic Yoga, so that's fantastic. I think the practice, to be honest, because I have so many interests and limited time, I am not the most consistent practitioner. So that is my little secret that you all know now. But even with the amount that I have been able to practice, I've noticed such differences in my intuition, my energy sensitivity, which if you're into energy healing and all of that, like, you want to get more sensitive. It's pretty cool to be able to feel more, to experience more. I've noticed myself also, just between that and just regular twin hearts, be so much more calmer. I mean, the amount it takes for something to trigger me now, it's a lot more. I stay stressed for a shorter duration of time. So I'm just seeing so many things in my daily life get improved from Arhatic Yoga. And then the community as well, like going to the retreats, it's like, you just go and you see all your friends and you meditate together, and it's amazing.
No, you're right. I mean, you and I are talking on the break, and you're like, hey, it's good to be with friends and family, but we are a spiritual family. I mean, we really are. I mean, there's not anybody that I know that if I had a problem and say, I need some help, that people want to be there for us. And, we experience that with our little subgroups, like my meditation group that, we do it in the evenings with Dawn. In our group, and I know a lot of people have groups all over the place, in the morning and different times of day. So it is you bond with everybody, and it's a love fest, right? When we get to these retreats and such. All right, but it is time to take another short commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the current state of things and sharing these tools and cosmic starlight and that kind of stuff. So. Again, I'm Bob Kolzarek. You're watching Greetings from the Ashram, streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. We'll be right back after this.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like, it was almost instant, like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic on the BBM Global Network, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, Bob Kolazarik, and you're watching Greetings from the Ashram, streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. Back with Asmi Shah, creator of the cosmic Starlight. But before we get into that, because I really want to hear about that, but what's your current state these days? You're balancing life and you're balancing things a lot better with the practice. What's going on with your current state?
I mean, I'm still working full-time at Google. I took a break from teaching classes. So I used to teach asana classes as well as sound baths at yoga studios, but decided to take a bit of a break. I focused a lot on my own personal healing this past year or two. And now I'm ready to go. So I'm in the process of launching a company. I am working full-time at Google, and then I'm doing pop-up events right now in terms of the asana and the sound healing. And so no weekly classes, but doing a little bit of everything.
And you maintain a little bit of balance by travel, and you just got back from, we got a couple photos we can show up, how your 2024 is shaped, but no, that's not, there we go. So started at the retreat, right? The picture on the left, 2024. Yes. Now you're into the Arhatic Yoga. You're attending the retreats, which is awesome.
Yep, that's me with my husband at the New Jersey Arhatic Yoga retreat this year.
And then a picture of you over at Tiger's Nest in Bhutan.
Yes.
Which, we were talking off during the break. It just, I know so many people that were there. That was such a beautiful experience for all involved. And then this last picture here, this is you doing some sound healing, which I tell you, I just melt right into that photo. It's just so peaceful. Where was that at?
Yeah, so it was an event this past March called Cycle Breakers in Manhattan, and it was an all-day women's energetic retreat. And so it was kind of a mix of different kinds of activations along with panels and networking. And so I was leading the sound healing session.
That's very, very awesome. So you're 2024, you're off and running with your businesses. So everything's just kind of flowing together, huh? Just coming together.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on. It can be a little overwhelming, but when it does, I've got all my healing tools in my toolbox.
Well, exactly. That kind of helps us. So you're creating a company, Soul Tara. And so what's the inspiration behind that and creating this Cosmic Starlight Journal, which I hope you to explain and tell us how that works.
Yeah, so the first version of this journal actually started at the end of 2021. So, we were still kind of in our COVID hangover, but starting to be more social, starting to get out. Some of us started going back to the office again. And I felt for me, so much had shifted the last few years between the yoga teacher training, the sound healing, the pranic healing. And I felt like I wanted to live my life with more intention. But I'm not a big New Year's resolution person, like this idea of, I don't know, I'm going to set a goal on January 1st, remember it for 2 weeks, and then forget about it. It didn't seem very appealing. And so I wanted to have a structured way to kind of think about my life. And so I started developing a series of questions just to ask myself at the end of the year and say, okay, what's going well? What isn't? How do I want to shift my energy? Where do I want to focus? What have I learned and grown this past year? And so I was kind of working on that in the background the last few years. And Amit and I were filling it out. I would maybe share it with a couple of friends, but it was just kind of this like little pet project. And then at the end of last year, I really felt this calling of, I think this tool is useful and I want to share it with people because it combines, a lot of my different interests and things like that. So it's got a little bit of yoga philosophy, a little bit of energy healing, a little bit of wellness and self-development. And so I had that calling at the end of last year. And then since January, I've been in the process of figuring out how to make it a physical product, how to bring it out into the world. And so that has been what most of this beginning of this year has been focused on.
So you pre-launched, or is it full-on launch now? I kind of lost track because you guys were doing the pre-launch
Yeah.
about a month or so ago when we first started talking. So where are you at with the stage
Yeah.
of the launch now?
So we launched a Kickstarter campaign to pre-launch the journal and raise the money to help actually fund the printing and transportation of it. We had a successful Kickstarter, so thank you to all of our supporters. We raised just over $1,900 on a goal of $1,500, which is really, really exciting. I've now gone in and put the bulk order to my printer, and it is in the process of getting printed. And then we will have a broader general launch this fall. And so it's going to be just ahead of the 2024 holiday season to get it for people to use basically at the end of the year and the beginning of 2025.
Yeah, well, that's very exciting, and a lot of work that goes into that kind of stuff. So you're also, you got your YouTube channel going, and you do a lot of community work. So what can people, if they go to subscribe to your YouTube channel? I haven't been able to get there yet. So what's you got going on there?
Yeah, so on my YouTube channel, I post regular sound baths. So I do a new moon sound bath, a full moon sound bath, and a sun sign transition gong bath. So about 3 sound baths every month that I go and do. And it is just kind of my service for anybody out there who wants to get some sound healing for free. I've got special singing bowls. Yeah, so please check it out. I have all these special singing bowls from Nepal. So I have a special new moon set that was only hand hammered on new moon nights that I use for my new moon sound baths. I have got a full moon set for my full moon.
Back up. Hold on. They were hammered on the full moon.
So
Okay.
Nepalese people are also super, super spiritual, and especially those who are hand hammering and making the good quality singing bowls, you can get a special one. So I've got a 12 chakra set of 13 bowls. That's like my kind of like base standard set that I use for most of the things that I do. If I do any events around here, I normally take the 7 chakra set of that. But then when I started getting deeper into my sound healing journey and I wanted to play around with some different singing bowls, I decided to get a new moon set and a full moon set that were only hand hammered on those specific nights. And so they have a really different energetic quality to them. And I really like playing them for the new moon and full moon respectively.
Well, I'm going to check that out because I've had other sound healers on, and I've made this comment. I've never had a sound healing before,
Come on over to Jersey City. We're not that far.
Well, actually, you are now because I'm in South Dakota.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, I packed up and I'm just kind of living off grid for a little while. Experience back, in nature. I'm working on a couple projects myself, so this gives me a little bit of time and space. When you're out in nature, it's like going, not that I was in Bhutan, but it's very peaceful, not a lot of thought forms going on. It's very still awareness, and it's a great time to be creative. So I'm working on something that I'm going to share with everybody in a little bit. But so thank you for that. I'm going to definitely check out those sound healings. I'm glad I asked. So you're also involved in a lot of community work, or what do you do? What communities are you involved with?
So I'm pretty active in a lot of different women and women of color communities here in the New York tri-state area. So I do, like I said, I just did a few weeks ago, we had a wellness event here in Jersey City, and I was doing free tuning fork sound healings over there. And then there's an event coming up this Saturday in Manhattan where I'm going to be doing tuning fork sound healing. So a lot of smaller events here and there. I'm also trying to share pranic healing with friends and colleagues who are going through stuff, and trying to see if I can introduce more people to these different healing tools.
Well, healing is super important, and that's wonderful that you're doing that. I'm super impressed with your work, but balancing life, So how do you balance yourself with everything that you're doing? I mean, you have the job, you got your spiritual pursuits, you're teaching, working in outreach with the community. So how does Asmi take care? What's your self-care routine looking like these days? Is just your normal practice of the yoga, and what do you do?
I think it's a flow. There are some days that are really productive where maybe I'm taking less time on myself, but I'm just doing a lot of output. And then there are days where I'm really tired and I'm like, okay, today I'm doing a sound healing on myself. I'm doing pranic healing on myself. So I think definitely right now, because the season is so busy, it's much more about ebb and flow rather than having a structured routine where I'm doing the same thing every day. But throughout the week, I am, I chant certain mantras almost every single day. So I always do that. I've got an Arhatic practice that I at least try to do a couple of times a week. I'm trying to be more physically active, whether it's asana or just going and hitting the gym. And then I'm doing self-healing on myself. And so it's just a mix of everything. And, the duration and the amount depends on the day and how much I need. And then also what else I have going on. But it's definitely a season of doing a lot, which means being flexible and also understanding that maybe everything is not going to look as perfect. And it's also coming after a time of where I really did retreat and spend a lot of time just healing myself, stop teaching classes. I spent so much time, I think, in my cocoon that I'm really ready for this phase of being out there and sharing more.
No, I get that too. I do some self healing, but you're right. That's a good point. I find myself just being in the flow with it. I got, I'm an old man. I'm just wrong way to self-identify. But I got some aches and pains and different things. So I do a lot of healing on myself, but it's not inconsistent. It depends on how I feel, and that's kind of the way that I work right now too. I'm up at elevation 5,300 in the Black Hills of South Dakota, amongst the pine trees. So it's an ebb and flow. If I don't feel like I don't have that wherewithal to do anything like super productive, I don't. I rest or whatever. So what motivated you to start your YouTube channel? Was it just as a function of a service? Because I do kind of like really focused on. I'll probably be there this weekend doing some sound healings.
It was a combination of twofold. One was service for sure and wanting to share sound healing with more people. The other was a forcing function of some discipline. Because a lot of times, I don't know how you feel, but especially with me having like a full-time job and other stuff, as much as I love a lot of things, it can be easy to procrastinate and watch TV instead. And I wanted to have a way to keep myself honest and practice these things that I really love. And so the YouTube channel for me has been a commitment. And I'm one of those people, and I'm sure you know this, right? Like there's different kinds of will. I have a low will to start, but I have a really strong will to continue, which means once I started the YouTube channel, I haven't missed a video in 2 years. And so for me, yeah. So for me, that's been really important where once I made this commitment that I want to do this, I do it no matter what. Doesn't matter if I'm feeling good or not. Doesn't matter if I feel like being in front of the camera. I made this commitment and I'm going to do it. And I'm really grateful for it because I'm sure by playing for other people, right, I'm also getting the benefit for myself every time I play.
Yeah, well, that, and I don't know, to me, when you're doing that kind of service, you're spiritualizing your life a little bit, right? So you're sowing seeds for yourself. So when you sow seeds of healing for other people, you do sow those seeds for yourself, and you get the healing that's coming to you. That's what we learn in our practice as well, right? So you do that kind of service, but let's get back into your, the women of color communities and those communities. How we only got about a minute to go, but it's such an important work. And you go to these outreach programs. Well, better yet, how about we put up your contact information so people can get in touch with you? You're in the Jersey City and New York City area. So what's the best place for them to reach out to you?
Yeah, the best place is to go on my website, sign up for my newsletter, and you can email me any questions or comments that you have. I'm always happy to answer questions because I'm so passionate about all these topics.
And then your personal Instagram is _Asmi Shah, right?
Yep, and I do a mix of content there. So it's a little bit of personal stuff, a little bit of sound healing stuff, a little bit of my pranic healing practice. So
for your personal YouTube, go at _ Asmi Shah, that's where I need to go to
Yeah,
look
that's
at
where all the sound healing is.
All right, fantastic. And for people to find more, they can find your Cosmic Starlight at your website as well.
Yep.
All right. Well, we're just about out of time. I want to thank you for being here. We never really spoke before, so this has been a treat for me, getting to know you a little bit. I see you around. So thank you so much for being here. I need to take another short commercial break. I am your host, Bob Kolazaric, and this is Greetings from the Ashram, streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. I'll be right back after this.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
Welcome back, everyone. I am your host, Bob Kolazaric, and you're watching Greetings from the Ashram, streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. As we wrap up today's episode, I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to Asmi Shah for joining me this evening. Her journey of healing and innovation is very inspiring, and we're so grateful for the insights and the wisdom she shared. She perfectly illustrates a nice progression of spiritual growth and starting from the yoga and creating her company. So it's very inspirational to me. So thank you for sharing your journey along with the spiritual path and the healing path, and for creating the Cosmic Starlight Journal. Journaling is such an important part of our own self-care and inner reflection. It's not to be taken lightly. So your dedication to making healing accessible to the BIPOC and WOC communities through your work at Google, the Cosmic Starlight Journal, and your YouTube channel is very commendable and greatly appreciated. I am going to definitely, like I said, go to the YouTube channel. So thank you for your commitment to the integrating technology and spirituality, and for making not only a positive impact on so many lives, but being an example and an embodiment of the teachings. So it's just, thank you for being here. I'm really, really grateful for that. And as we delve deeper into our own spiritual journeys, it's essential to remember that learning in spirituality, it's essential to remember that the concepts are just the beginning. While the knowledge we gain is valuable, but the true transformation happens when we commit to living these teachings every single day. And Asmi is a great example of that. It's not enough to simply understand these concepts intellectually. We need to embody them and integrate them into our daily lives. This means doing the work, practicing mindfulness, showing compassion, and being present in each moment. It's through this consistent practice that we can truly experience that inner growth and transformation. Like I said, transformation, it's a process that requires action and commitment. It's in the daily dedication to our practices, whether it's meditation, journaling, or any other form of self-care, that we begin to see and feel the changes within ourselves. And that's my experience. By embodying the teachings and taking deliberate steps every day, we not only enhance our own lives, but also positively impact those around us. So let's strive to be living examples of the spiritual principles we cherish, making every day an opportunity to grow and to transform. So with that being said, I wanted to drop in with some exciting news. Something I've been working on that I believe will resonate with many of you. I would say in the next 30 to 45 days, I'll be launching a transformative new program called the Stillness and Success Blueprint. So imagine gaining the tools to find that deeper inner peace while aligning your passions and goals to create true sustainable success. So this course is all about helping you to build a solid foundation of mindfulness and stillness, empowering you to unlock your full potential. At the same time, you'll be getting clear on every aspect of your life and how you want to live your life. So whether you're feeling overwhelmed by life's demands or simply looking for a way to connect more deeply with yourself and your ambitions, this program is designed for you. We'll delve into daily practices, emotional intelligence, and how to harness that inner calm to fuel your external achievements. So stay tuned for more updates and sneak peeks as we get closer to the launch date. And I can't wait to share this journey with you. Make sure you follow me on my social media to keep current with my updates. I think we have some of that information. Basically, you can find me at Self-Help Coaching LLC on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, also my YouTube channel at Self-Help Coaching LLC. You can find me. So follow me and keep in touch, and I will be putting out additional information on the program as we get closer to launch. But thank you again to Asmi for being here. Check out her YouTube channel. Check out that journaling with Cosmic Starlight. Again, thank you for being here today. And that's all I have. So have a great weekend, everybody. Namaste, and we will see you next week.
This has been Greetings from the Ashram with host Bob Kolazarik. Through meaningful conversations and practical insights, this show invites you to explore the endless possibilities for personal growth, healing, and spiritual awakening. Tune in each week to discover how these practices can bring balance and harmony to your life, making it a true journey of self-discovery. Fridays, 7 p.m. on the Bold